And he obviously has a passion for playing winning basketball. He talks about that a lot. I think he has an unselfish nature. He loves to pass and things like that. So interesting person.
Scottie Barnes is a collector of fine arts, enjoys himself a nice pedicure, and is a Swiss Army knife on the court for the Toronto Raptors. He's only 20, but there's already a kind of basketball genius to his play. In one of his first games, he tried to bait an opponent into passing him the ball, and few players ever come along with his high-revving motor and instincts for successful team basketball. Barnes weighs 230 pounds, measured 6'7" barefoot, and has a ridiculous 7'3" wingspan, yet he spends a ton of time guarding point guards. Here he's pestering James Harden again, gets rocked a bit off balance, but he's so big he can just recover, and then he snatches up a pass and starts chugging the other way, only to send this one just a hair too high on a beautiful idea. Scottie is pure energy on both ends of the court, bouncing around against a center this time, scooping the rebound to start the fast break, and he's looking to playmake in these spots, so he kicks it out, only to get it right back, and I love the power dribble backwards to throw off the shot blocker and finish with the left. This time he starts on a wing, is constantly looking to help off and make plays in the paint, so he snaps around and walls off a drive, and then check out this acceleration, Usain bolting past everyone into open space. It's rare to find players this big who are also this involved defensively and then can immediately push in transition, setting up teammates, or taking it to the house themselves. Barnes is on a big here, but reacts instantly to this breakdown, arriving early with a nice quick contest, and then he takes off to run the show, and this no-look pass buys a little extra time for a shooter. Scottie says Magic Johnson has influenced his style, and you can see that in his use of the look away to manipulate defenses. Although he can be a little overly reliant on that at times, here's some more defense to offense before staring right at Gary Trent to set up this pass, and I think an extra dribble or two in these spots doesn't let the other team off so easily. Barnes is dangerous with a head of steam against a backpedaling defender, using those long strides to glide home, and he's not super explosive or physically overwhelming, but he can hesitate, spin, and cover a ton of ground. Watch him on this play without the ball, taking off on the miss, and then slipping behind Mikal Bridges so he can seal him up high with all that space, and that's just brilliant basketball. Scottie's instincts for moving into little soft spots in the defense create value without the ball, and someone like this can be a godsend for a good passer, letting others go to work and then sneaking in for layups when the defense is distracted. He has such great feel and timing on his cuts, waiting for Van Vliet to pull back before flashing in front of the basket for a deep seal, and again, a good entry pass makes that deadly. He's in the corner here, but instead of spotting up, he cuts behind the helper, and that's a nasty curveball for this weak side defender who is thinking about the wing or the corner, so it's difficult to rotate to the cut. And this one's vintage Scottie Barnes, surveying the zone for weaknesses, trying to upgrade a 3 into a layup with that no look. But when that doesn't work, he cuts into open space in the paint. There's a traffic jam in there, so he curls out the other side for an open 16-footer. All that off-ball movement leads to offensive rebounding chances, and have I mentioned how creative he is yet? Barnes is in the 85th percentile in offensive rebounding this season among qualifying players, a combination of his size, length, desire, and understanding of how to position his body. This fits in with his team-centric mentality. In the waning seconds against Miami, he outruns Bam Adebayo, which forces an extra defender to slide over and help, so Scottie hits the open man, and knowing the clock is so low, he tries to tip in the offensive rebound, and that should have drawn a foul, and in the long run is a winning play. He is an ambidextrous finisher, posting the smaller Devin Booker and spinning into the lefty hook off the glass. Yes, And this is a man who will wheel into his share of post-ups, pivoting back to the other shoulder here for the right-handed redux. Earlier, we saw him use his body on that seal, and one of his favorite moves is leaning in and around defenders on the block, and he has nice touch on a ton of these funky hooks and flips in close. Finishing like this is useful on his drives into space, where he loves to spin and throw it up at different angles, but he'll also come off a screen and wheel right into a post-up with some gorgeous footwork. Despite his deep bag of tricks, he still also feels like a Padawan playing out there on instinct. He doesn't need a no-look pass here. Maxey slides down anyway, and that ruins the delivery. And here he flashes his impressive handle for such a big body, but it's not tight enough for Caruso, and he fumbles it out of bounds. Barnes has two bigger issues to work on though, both related to his outside shooting. First, he takes too many long twos early in the shot clock, and there are better shots to find earlier in a possession before falling back on something like this at the end of the clock. Shot clock aside, I think he'll learn to make better decisions in a pinch. He picks up his dribble, thinks about hitting this cutter, and instead of a kick out, fires it right at the hoop. The other issue is knocking down three-point shots consistently. He's making just 30% on 4 attempts per 100, and his other shooting indicators aren't super promising. 73% from the line is a solid start, and Barnes looks really good closer to the basket, but hits just 37% outside of 15 feet. While that should improve with time, he does have huge hands, so there's no guarantee he'll be a solid volume shooter, even with years of practice. On defense, he can be a bit overzealous at times too. He's denying the inbounds here, but probably doesn't need to chase Morant away from the hoop, and that opens up an easy back door. He wants to help so much that he can occasionally overhelp. That's already a tough fade, but it turns into an easy three. Despite his size, he'll regularly cover the opposing point guard, often nagging them in the backcourt, like he did during his one season at Florida State. Though his feet are a bit heavy, he covers ground with those long strides instead of quick, agile steps, and he can overextend himself at times on the outside. And I don't think he's dialed in the right cushion yet. He's pressed up on a shooter 30 feet away, which means less time to react to the drive, and a little more space between him and the dribbler is probably ideal, given those long strides and incredible length to reach shots. Now, the reason he's so far out on someone like Adebayo is to create ball pressure so Bam can't easily set up the offense, which burns time off the clock, and that's a nice option to have from your 4 or 5, who can then slide over and protect the paint on a drive against a big wing. That level of versatility is ideal for today's game, hounding quick point guards without needing too much help, then instantly switching onto a giant and backpedaling perfectly with high hands without fouling. There's yet another switch on this play, and Scottie wisely stays home to protect the rim. He's not the greatest rim protector, he doesn't always get off the ground that quickly, but that's okay because Barnes' horizontal game has so much value. He's switched onto a big, then spots a no-look pass from a mile away, and somehow has the length to intercept this despite being 20 feet from the corner. I'd say Scottie's aware of most threats out there, eyeing this backdoor cut so he can pounce on the pass, and that one he times perfectly for the save. And his combination of perimeter defense, motor, awareness, and length make him a defensive tornado out there on some of these plays. He reminds me a bit of Bobby Jones, who was the original defensive cyclone out there, running around guarding wing players while sniffing out threats in the paint en route to 11 all-defensive teams. Although, I for one assume Scottie doesn't know about the Secretary of Defense. I loved this sequence against Brooklyn, where he comes over and rips Kevin Durant on a trap, and on the very next trip, switches onto Harden in the corner, only to dig off of him and just snatch another steal from KD for a second consecutive easy runout. One-number metrics already see Barnes as a slightly positive player. He does play 36 minutes a game for a playoff team, and it's noteworthy that my box score model likes him the most here, since it's probably picking up his value as a jumbo-size playmaker. We already discussed his transition passing, and his head is always up, looking for outlets off of rebounds, and he's always thinking about who's open, so his extra passing is promising too. Even at his size, he has the dexterity to throw a variety of deliveries off the dribble, and that vision and ball handling let him punish doubles when he attacks a mismatch in the post. It's difficult to watch Barnes at times and not think of Draymond Green diming up cutters from the top. And he's even flashed some passing out of the short roll game that's so important today. Although Scottie has way more scoring potential out of these actions than Draymond, whether it's his floater and touch, or just his size and athleticism as a roll man. One major question for me is how much offense Barnes can generate as a primary weapon. His handle already gives him some juice with the ball, and we know he can attack mismatches, get out in transition, and play in space. Even without great shooting, his off-ball activity and passing fits so well on good teams as a secondary or tertiary option. And on defense, he can guard all 5 players in some capacity and play in any scheme, all while simultaneously sniffing out threats in the paint. That's the blueprint for a phenomenal defender and a really good overall player. And if his ball handling and jump shot improve as he physically matures, Scottie Barnes could become one of the best players in the NBA. If you want more content, check out patreon.com/thinkingbasketball. We have proprietary stats that update daily, a Discord community, and more. Let me know your thoughts on this one below. I hope you're enjoying these rookies as much as I am this season and that you are having a great day.